Welcome to part 2 of Competency 3. In this video, we will work with questions relating to modulus and congruence classes. Number 1, given 1153 is congruent to x mod 9, which one of the following numbers could represent x? Okay, for this particular question, we can use the remainder function. So we go to math, arrow over to num or number, arrow up, and you'll see where it says remainder, which is 0. So push 0. Now we have what we want. So we enter the left side first, 1153, okay, then comma, and then our mod 9, okay, close parentheses, push enter, and the value of 1 is what we need. So what we're really saying is we're saying 1153 minus 1 divided by 9 will give us an integer quotient. Okay, so let's see if it really does. So alpha y equals, there's my fraction setup, 1153 minus 1, go down, enter 9. Now let's push enter. We should get an integer. And we do, 128. Now that could be, integer means it could be 0, it can be positive, it can be negative. What it cannot be is a fraction, a decimal. If you understand what I'm saying, it has to be that even dividing, okay? All right, now let's go to number 2. But we're using the concept that we have here, and I'll show you how. Given 27 is congruent to x mod 5, which one of the following numbers could represent x? Okay, if we use this remainder function, okay, I'm going to go up and capture it. Remember, we can do that, but we have to be careful typing over our values. So the value I need first is 27, then a comma. I'm going to do a little deleting out, and now I need that to be a mod 5. Okay, so that's 27 mod 5. All right, now I push enter. Notice I get 2. Okay, now that all that tells me is that it doesn't tell me a lot about the remainder, but what it does tell me is that if I take 27 minus 2, I can divide it by 5. Well, that doesn't quite help me. However, there is another way to approach this. We can approach it the way I have circled up here. How is that? We can put in our y1, and I'll do that for you in a minute. We can say 27 minus x all divided by 5, and then look for those even situations with our given. I'll show you. Let's talk about it when we do it. Okay, I'm going to go to our y1, y equals our y1, okay? Then I'm going to set up our fraction, alpha y equals number 1. And we need 27 minus our x, arrow down, put in your 5, okay? Now we have it entered. So let's go second graph. Okay, we need to look at the given values to see what will work. Now what we're looking for is in the pink where we put in our y1, we want integer values. As you can see, you're not going to get a lot of those. There will only be select few. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to take my window. Well, I can just arrow up. I want to look at -9 first. Okay, that is not an even value. So that tells me if I put -9 in for x and I divide all that, it's not going to happen, okay? I need that even quotient, okay? All right, so I'm going to go second window and try -23 and see what happens, okay? Second graph. Ooh, that is even. So that tells me option B is a taker. And also, you need to also notice that 10 is, we have a multiple of 2. We have 2 involved. But think of it. 10 is 2 times 5. Just think about all of the way these things can be even. And how does 23 come into play? That is because 27 plus, because what we really have is 27 minus a minus 23. Well, isn't that 50? That makes sense, right? And 10 times 5 is 50. So I'm buying it, all right? So I'm going to go now, window, and I'm going to put in number 8, okay? And we'll go back to that. Remember, second graph. Oh, 8's not going to work. So I know A's not going to work. C's not going to work. Let's try 18. I'm just going to arrow down real quick to 18. Oop, nope. So that tells me the only viable number that would give us in the end an even quotient would be negative 23. As I said before when we started with number 1, and I showed you some of it isn't always the numbers you think. So when we use the remainder function, we had a value of 2. Well, sure, that'll work, but that doesn't mean it's the only value that's reasonable. Okay, now you see what we're doing. Okay, so let's go on to number 3 and see if we can find that one. Given negative 15 is congruent to 13 mod, I don't know, m, which one of the following numbers could not, that's important, could not represent m? Okay, we're going to put it in exactly the same way. As a matter of fact, let's just go and type over. Okay, so our number is negative 15, and we are going to subtract 13, and then go down, and in this case, m is going to have to equal x. So put your x in. Okay, now let's say second graph. Okay, and the values we need to look at are 4, 7, 14. Well, 14 is on the screen. 14 is negative 2. That is an integer. So it counts, but we need to mark it off because we're looking for the not. Well, it does. So now let's go to 4 and 7. So second window, number 4. Okay, and then second graph. No, 4 works as a modulus. So we could say negative 7. It is that integer that we are looking for. Remember, we're only talking integers here. We're not talking fractions or decimals. That's it. So because 4 works, we can't have it. Now look at 7. It works too. We can't work with it. So we need to go to second window and put in 21. Now, if 21 is a fraction, it is the not value that we're looking for. We want the one that doesn't represent a possible m. Okay, so let's go to second graph. And yeah, it's a fraction. And that's what we're not looking for. That will not be viable. Okay, so if you think about it, we had negative 15 minus 13. Well, that gives us a negative 28. Well, negative 28 can be divided by 4, 7, and 14. So because those numbers can divide negative 28 evenly, we know that they are good options, whereas 21 obviously did not divide it evenly, so it is not a good option. Okay, let's go to 4 and 5. Number 4, given x is congruent to 2 mod 8, which one of the following numbers could represent x minus 3? Okay, this tells us that the values we have is 3 less than the value of x. So in order to actually put this in the calculator and look at the correct values, we need to add, we add 3 back on to each one of these. So what does this mean? This implies that this one, our x is 105. And for this one, our x is 106. Then for this one, that's 110. Our x would be 110. And for this last one, we need to see if x equals 115 gives us the right quotient. Okay, so we go back to y equals. We're going to do the same thing. All right, I'm going to say alpha y equals, set up my fraction. And for this one, my fraction is x minus 2, and go down and divide all that by the 8. Okay, all right, now we go to our first window. We need 105. So second window, I'm at 109. Let's go ahead and go to 105. Okay, then go second graph. And that is not an even value. Okay. You know what? Come to think of it, let's also check this other value, the value that's given in our ABCD option. Okay, let me show you how we can do that. Let's arrow down to y sub 2 and say alpha trace, select whatever y1 equals, remember? Okay, so that'll be our x value. We want the x value minus 3 because that's what our options are. They're saying which one represents that particular one. Okay, fine. All right, so now let's go back to second graph. See how neither of those values are even. So that isn't going to work out. And okay, we went to 105, but that's not what, yeah, we wanted 105. But now let's look at 106. Go down. Oh, 106 does actually right below it. Okay, so that's a possibility. It might work out for us. Now let's arrow down to 110. Nope, that doesn't work. All right, what about 115? And no, neither of those work. So option B is the correct one. Okay, so that tells us that when we take 2, if we had one, the value of x is 106, minus 2 is 104. Okay, so let's go and do that then. If I said 106, that would be our value of x, okay? And then we subtract 2, okay? I'm going to push enter. That'll give us 104. That should be divisible by 8. So divide by 8. And it does. It's 13. So it tells us we were correct. All right, now let's look at 5. Using mod 7, which one of the following is not a remainder of 4? So we're saying not a remainder. Okay, so what we can do for this one, a couple of things that we can do. Really what this is x is congruent to 4 mod 7. Okay? All right. So let's see. A couple of things. We can say x minus 4 divided by 7. It's probably the only, well, it's the only option we have because we don't have the value of x. So let's give it a go and see what happens, okay? So let's go y equals, well, let's just go ahead and clear everything out. Let's make it clean. All right, let's go to y1. I just like to keep putting things in y1 because it's just cleaner. And I'm trying to show you an example. You don't have to for yourself, but the more I show when I'm trying to help someone, the more confusing it becomes. So if we just clean our slate, it is actually a little better. Okay, alpha y equals. Okay, alpha y equals. It didn't take it first. Okay, I didn't press it right. All right, so what we want is x minus 4, and then over 7. All right, and then second graph. Okay, so we need to look at negative 31, negative 10, 20 and 32. Okay, well, we're way away from those. So let's go second window and get close. Oops, second window. Okay, I have to push these things correctly. So let's go to negative 31 and second graph. Oh, 31 is a possibility. Oh, it says not. Ugh. Make sure you read it right. Well, I didn't read it right. We don't want the ones that do work. We want the ones that don't work or the one that doesn't work. Okay, well, A works, so that's not gonna be one of our options. So second window and minus 10. Okay, second graph, go back. Oh, that works. Okay, well, let's go to 20. Window, type in 20. Okay, second graph. Okay, 20 doesn't work. It might be it. Maybe. Let's try 32 really quick. Second window, 32 enter. Okay. Second graph. Oh, it works. So I can mark it off and I can say C is the proper option. Okay. All right. This is the last item in this particular video. There aren't a lot of examples for uh, modular math. However, it is applied to other areas. So you do need to know how to manipulate these items and understand what they mean. Okay. All right. Thank you for watching. And if you have subscribed, greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't, consider it. And if you really like any of our videos, could you share them and like them? That would also be very appreciated. Happy testing, everybody.